Well done, congratulations. What an amazing afternoon for you. So between the first goal, that touch you give that takes the defender away before you score the goal, the second goal with that strike finish, and the third goal with the long distance shot, what was your favorite?
Probably the third, to be fair. Yeah, I think to top it off with the hat-trick was really nice, and it was a good strike from outside the box.
And didn't fancy the fourth, because I saw you giving the ball to him.
I was on it. I was going to take it, but Fabio, it was a special moment for him. I think he's expecting a baby, and he won the penalty, so he asked if he could take it. I said, of course, it's a team sport. I've got 3, so yeah.
Well, Sheffield United, they sat deep, especially in the first half. But not only you managed to find goals, you managed to find 3 goals. So what was important in the way you move, in the way you read the game, to find those spaces and find the 3 goals?
Yeah, just stay patient. In games like this, when it's tight and it's low, it's about staying patient, staying in the right areas, arriving in the right areas. And my teammates found me today, and I was able to finish my chances.
And emotionally, how did it feel for you to score the hat-trick?
Yeah, amazing. It's my first Premier League hat-trick here with the fans, the supporters, my family, my friends, and to do it with my teammates is an amazing feeling. So really happy with the 3 goals and the win.
And another nice moment when you got the captain's armband. How was it?
No, dream come true. A special moment for me, obviously, being a childhood fan to captain the squad and to lead the team. Obviously, B was first-time captain as well, which is really good. So now we're here. We came from a Halo, and we know what it means to the club. So it's really proud and special for us to be able to wear the armband.
You got a chance in the team after Gabriel Jesus' injury, and he's been doing really well. But how much pressure do you put on yourself in a positive way, of course, to score when you get these chances?
I try not to put too much pressure. I know I'm capable of scoring goals. It's just about being patient, getting in the right areas, and working every day. I'm training hard, even when I'm playing, not playing, scoring, not scoring, always putting on the work on the training pitch to make sure I'm sharp. And moments like this are good rewards for it.
Well done, Denari. Thank you.
Very much. Cheers.
Just the 5 matches this week, 3 of the top 6 in action, including Arsenal and Newcastle. We asked for 2 legends, but Thierry Henry and Shola Miobi couldn't make it. To the Emirates, where unbeaten Arsenal faced winless Sheffield United. Bukayo Saka had scored or assisted in 6 straight games. The last Englishman to do so in 7 for Arsenal was Ian Wright.
There won't be no assist in there. But...
Pure goals. Your commentator, Steve Wilson.
Eddie, congratulations, your first Premier League hat-trick. That must be a great feeling.
Yeah, amazing. Obviously, it's not been easy. Last month I lost my auntie, so I just want to dedicate these 3 goals to her. Her family were here watching today, so I want a really special moment. I want to dedicate it to her.
The first half to the second half was chalk and cheese. Although Arsenal had a lot of the ball first half, I think Wes had 1 save to make. But second half, the goals were really poor, what we conceded. But it's probably a reflection of how I felt the game was. They outfought us as well as outplayed us in the second half. We know we're down to bare bones and we're missing some big personalities and some physicality. But the boys were stepping in on the pitch, the boys who were getting the opportunity, need to grasp it.
We had a really emotional week. We're travelling, playing 2 very, very tough away games. And today was a very different context. We had to be prepared for that, and we had to be patient. But as well, we had to do certain things better than in the first half, to attack them better, to create them more problems, be more of a threat, and play the game where we want it.
I don't know if you know this, there's only 2 Arsenal players who've ever scored 4 goals in a Premier League game. Thierry Henry, Andre Arshavin. It could have been Henry, Arshavin, and Nketiah.
I know. And to be fair, my first instinct was to grab the ball and go. But obviously Fabio won it, and he's expecting a little one soon. So it's about being team player. He's found me on other occasions in the game. So it was his time to get a chance, and he took it away. So I'm happy.
Not unbeaten though, are they? There's only a couple of sides that are unbeaten in the Premier League. Arsenal being one of them.
Yes, they are. At the minute, it's good because at this stage of the season, they've done it. They've done it last season. They know what to do at this stage of the season. So we're not seeing the greatest football, especially watching the first 77 minutes against Chelsea. But then they came back with a brilliant performance in Sevilla. But what they've done is they've learned how to stay in the games and then, win the game, or draw the game. So that's what they're learning at this stage, That's why everybody's trying to stay calm and not get too excited about what's going on. But you have to win the games. You have to be amongst it.
Do you know what? That Chelsea win, I think, to me...
The Chelsea draw.
The Chelsea draw is as valuable as any of the wins. Yeah. And I'll tell you why. The character they showed, Arsenal of the past possibly would have, you know, maybe not shown that desire to go all the way to the wire.
Yeah.
But the fact that they had the character to fight back, to grab the goals.
But I think that was Mikel's subs as well.
Yeah,
in the game against City, I thought his subs were really good. You know, they impacted the game. They had sides and they got the ball in the box. I thought against Chelsea the same. I thought the subs had a big impact on kind of changing the course of that game.
But don't you think that all round, that spirit of we are not losing this game,
well, that's the thing,
regardless of how little time we have
Ricey makes a great point. It's no point doing that. It's great at 10 games. You only really know a team, the championship teams, at the end of the season in the big moments. Absolutely. And that's where they've, no disrespect, they've come a little bit short, you know, in Champions League places. And then last season, I'm amazed how far along they are, being one of the youngest teams in the league. But now, they got to, Wright makes a great point, you got to do it
the thing.
In the biggest big moments, you know, towards the end of the season. And they look stronger with Declan for that.
But here's the point. When you look at the Liverpool game, there were down to 10 men. And they had this injustice against them. They're at Newcastle, and everyone thought this is a difficult place to go. Newcastle are going to win this, and the will they showed to come through and win that game, mark them down as potential champions. And you're right, it is very early, but sometimes early in the season you can set the standard for the level of 100%. Performance that you expect. Off. That's what's keeping them now at this level. They're not dropping off, having had a couple of good seasons. They're still there.
That's the biggest jump, isn't it, Righty? From being a really good team, I think, to then become a champ. You know, and how do you bridge that gap with probably the youngest team in the league? I think that's going to be Mikel's biggest challenge.
It's mentality, because obviously we've seen that we've got the players who are more than good enough. So it would come down to mentality and not resting on laurels. Because, like I say, 2-0 down at Chelsea, you're right, probably a team of that age didn't have the experience that they gained from last season. You probably think, OK, we'll try again next week. But they got a sniff, they got back in the game. Saka Cucurella is one of his best games I've seen, trying to mark. He slipped in and bam, you're back in the game because your two top players, Declan and Saka, came up with the goods. And what you do when you go back in the dressing room is that you go back and you say that 77 minutes what started is nowhere near good enough if we're going to try and do what we're trying to do. And that's the kind of mentality that's there now, and it's up to them to keep on pushing, because they're going to have to. And you're going to need more teams to push as well. You can't just leave it on one team. And that's why I feel like it's so exciting this year.
It is exciting. And exciting for Nketiah at the weekend as well, getting his hat-trick. Is he a really important squad player from Arsenal rather than the solution?
I think so. We had a good chat. I was speaking to me and Alan Shearer, we're talking about it. And, you know, you have to go back to the best example I can say is somebody who's accepted that I'm a squad player. It's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Now, you know, I'm sitting, even when we was driving in, I was saying, I'd probably swap my career with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's in respects of people saying, but you weren't playing regularly enough. But you're at Man United, you're with great players, you're in all the top competitions, you're going to get games, he's scored loads of goals, and he's that player now, he's come on, I've seen him score 4 goals against Nottingham Forest when he came on, and I've seen him come on and scored a winning goal in the Champions League. Now, I think that Eddie may have got to the place in his head where he's thinking, well, where am I going to go if I leave Arsenal to get the same calibre of football, to play in the Champions League, keep myself scoring at this level and play for England without having to leave and try and prove myself somewhere? You're here.
Do you think he'd accept that? The young kids, they all want everything and they think they can be the guy, and I respect that. But you make a great point. You could stay there and be just a great squad player at Arsenal for a decade.
Exactly.
Score 200 goals, win everything, rather than go be the main guy at, wherever that is, whether it's Palace or, Everton. I'm with you. I think the guys are better off sitting still.
I'm thinking now, Darren, and you'd have to correct me if I'm wrong, if players can now, in their head saying, I can be... The way that the game is now and the rotation and everything, I probably, if I was playing now, I could take that role where Eddie's...
You wouldn't have when you were playing now.
No, different time. No way would I accept it, because you want to score, and you felt like when we was playing, you had to score, so as you played next week, and the more you score, the more you're going to stay in the game. But now, you could score goals and still be left out.
Yeah.
But there's enough...
squads weren't as deep.
Exactly, they weren't as deep. There's enough competitions, and that club now, with the way Mikel's moving, they're going to be challenging for stuff.
I'm surprised you didn't score 4 goals. Right.
I did score 4 goals, but it was before football was invented.
I know.
It was so,
At least you played in the Premier League. I actually don't exist. It was a first Premier League hat-trick for Arsenal, Freddie and Nketiah. And a reward, perhaps, for his perseverance.
I think so, yeah. And especially coming into a team where, you know, there's a lot of rotation, you know, and you're not playing with the major first-team guys, and you want to be playing with the players. It's going to make you the chances. But what he done today was brilliant. He was fantastic today. I like when he stays in and around there, and he looked very sharp today. You know, I mean, the defenders were very poor, but at the same time, he was very sharp. And it's really interesting because this defender does something I've never seen before. He's actually, when this ball comes into Eddie Nketiah, by the time he actually pushes him out of his eyesight. Now he can't see him at all. So, and then the touch is brilliant, and then that's a fantastic finish. I do like when he's in and around there, but look at this, the touch back across him, and then it's the composure, and this is what I think that Eddie's got. He's got that all day long in the box stuff. This was a good one because he's very aggressive. I didn't think Luke Thomas was strong enough to deal with how Eddie. The mood Eddie was in today. When you look at his movement here and how aggressive and quick it is, it's like bam, bam, and he's in. Luke's all over the place, and then you know he just smashes into the net. The last one, what I like about the last one, this is about the confidence. Strike. Yeah, this is about the confidence. Again, defending was very, very poor. Instead of getting tight to him, he's dropped off him. And what is good about this is that he's not even thought twice. 25 yards out. And that's where the confidence is coming in. And that's what you want him to take into every single game, to take those chances and get that kind of opportunity and smash it like that.
Sweet ass.
Delighted for him.
Great goal.
Yeah. He's got a few starts this season, hasn't he? That's not something that applied to either of you two, but it must be difficult in a way being, I suppose he's a squad player.
Yeah.
But every club needs those sort of players, don't they, that can come in and do a job like that.
When you look at it, you think to yourself, like Arsenal now, they're challenging for trying to win the league. You know, they're in the Champions League. You know, there was a time where we was worried that he weren't going to sign. In the end, he did sign. But you're thinking, where else would he go to get the opportunity, what he's got now? I know you've got Jesus in front of him. People are talking about another striker. But at the same time, he's in there, coming in and doing a job that we need him to do. And he's done it. He done it last season, and he's doing it again this season.
He's a good player to come in there, isn't he? He's unlikely ever to be the main man. Yeah. But you're absolutely right. When you're in a football club that's challenging for honours, you need players of quality to come in, and he's that, and he'll always be a threat.
Tottenham got things up and running with their Friday night win over Crystal Palace before Brentford stunned Chelsea with their third straight victory at Stamford Bridge. Arsenal and Bournemouth recorded home wins, and the points were shared between Wolves and Newcastle. Sunday got off to the best possible start as Everton picked up 3 points at the London Stadium, while Liverpool and Aston Villa were comfortable winners at home. But the headline act of the weekend was undoubtedly the Manchester derby, in which Pep Guardiola's side absolutely destroyed Erik ten Hag's men. The top five were all victorious this weekend, so Tottenham remained 2 points clear at the top. Aston Villa's fine form has moved Unai Emery's side 5 points clear of the chasing pack. Bournemouth's first win of the season moves them out of the drop zone and leads Sheffield United as the only side yet to record a victory this season. Everton's win means the bottom four are now 4 points adrift after 10 games of the season. Not a great place to be. However, our focus this week is going to be on the top half of the table. Welcome back to the show. We're now going to have a quick talk with our panellists. Scott Willis, the Data, Arsenal fan all the way from Nevada. Scott, how are you? Thank you for joining us.
I'm doing great. It's been a good weekend.
Yeah, I'm sure you did with a 5-0 victory. How do you think the season's gone in general for Arsenal so far?
It's been an interesting one. So it's not quite as free-flowing and fun as last year. I think some of it is the expectations for the team have changed. Last year, I think we had a little bit of maybe if we can get into top four, we'd be very happy. Now there's a lot of, title challenge expectations. So some of the, early results were good, but, maybe not quite as good as people had hoped. So it was good to see a big win this weekend and hopefully getting people back on track.
Scott, be honest, did you expect them to score 5 this weekend?
I did not expect 5. I'd hope, maybe, 2 or 3 be able to get on top of things. But anytime you start getting more than 4 or 5, you need some good luck and some good things to go your way. Even if Sheffield United might not be the best team, and they're certainly depleted with injuries.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Scott, the reason we've got you in is to talk to us about the goalkeeping issue that Mikel Arteta has had this season. He's brought in David Raya and he's chose him over Aaron Ramsdale, who everybody thought was quite settled in the Arsenal team. And we're going to look at the details of what that is. Do you want to talk us through this bit of analysis that you presented to us?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this is one of those things when you looked at the start of the year, I don't think it would have been on many people's list for this is the spot that Arsenal need to make the biggest improvement. Aaron Ramsdale, I thought, was a very good player. He allowed Arsenal to do a lot of the things that they wanted to be able to do. But if there was a couple of things that you could point to with Aaron Ramsdale and where we could get a better improvement in the team, it would be here in the shot stopping where, you look at the numbers here. So this is the shots on target that he faced last season. He ended up allowing 39 goals from 39.5 post-shot XG. Post-shot XG is an estimate of the probability based on the location inside of the goal frame of a shot turning into a goal. So he was a little bit below average, but basically spot on to what you would expect. So, maybe an area where you can get a little bit more improvement, a few more goals saved, and maybe be able to turn that into a couple more points that Arsenal kind of needed to be able to challenge for a title.
Scott, just looking at this shot map, if I'm playing in front of a goalkeeper, I'm probably thinking, you save the ones in there. I mean, that's a generalized idea of where a goalkeeper should be making saves. These areas in the top corner are world-class saves, the ones that are very difficult, full stretch. But I'm expecting a goalkeeper to make saves in this area. I'm surprised by the amount of goals that Ramsdale has in that space.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the things when you watch Aaron Ramsdale, he is capable of making the spectacular. I think that when you kind of look at the data too, as a one-on-one goalkeeper, I don't think that there's a better player one-on-one. It is some of these ones that are savable. Like they're not necessarily like howlers by any chance or like any stretch of the imagination, but it's not the ones that you expect, most keepers to be able to make. And I think that's where some of the struggles are. And we got another graphic on that in a bit. And I think that really kind of helps illustrate that a little bit more.
Scott, can you talk to me about Raya and the difference then shown in this graph?
Yeah, so I think Raya is a better shot stopper. He's not an elite shot stopper. He's not going to be like an Allison or even a Bernd Leno, where they are able to really kind of pick up. So you kind of look at, some of the spectacular ones. You look at the top corners. He's not getting to those like he is, like a Raya, like a Ramsdale did. But he does keep the ones out that you really expect him to be able to do. And especially so this is, a little bit hard. He was with Brentford, so he's faced a lot more shots than Ramsdale did last year, but he did keep out a lot of the ones that he absolutely should have kept out, where he ended up was being a better than expected versus the average keeper.
So Scott, in terms of those stats at the top of the picture that you said that the Ramsdale was more or less spot on, can you just explain where Raya is then?
Yeah, so Raya ends up looking as a above average shot stopper. Looking at his career, these numbers are backed up as well. He really does really kind of keep out all of these 50, 60% saves and below. So he really is the ones that you expect your keeper to do, which is a really nice thing to be able to depend on. So not quite the spectacular, but the ones that are close to him, he's going to be able to get to.
Well, we'll move on to the next graph now. You're talking about making saves that you're supposed to. Talk us through this graph, if you don't mind, with regards to shot-stopping abilities and how difficult a shot they are facing compared to the quality or expectation of saves that they're making.
Yeah, so this is where, again, you see this is bucketed into 20% groups. So the 0 to 20%, so that is a save rate that you would expect a keeper. Those are the spectacular saves. They're 90% to be scored, and that's where there's the white dotted line. That's the expected one. So Ramsdale is above the line there, while David Raya is below the line. But then you start getting into the easier ones, and that's where David Raya starts to shine. Especially you get to the 40%, 60%, 80%. He is well above the expected there, while Ramsdale has started to slip a little bit below and let in a few more than you expect. And you think kind of about a team with Arsenal where we're looking for being able to get some of these marginal gains in the when you're at the very top of the table, these little fine things, one goal can make a huge difference. And I think that's where perhaps Arsenal looked like, oh, we could get something from this change.
So, Scott, are you saying from this then that Ramsdale makes the spectacular saves, but Raya, he's probably the consistent one that makes the ones he should make on a regular basis?
More dependable, exactly. Yeah, I think that's a good way to analyze this.
Well, let's go on to passing, Scott, because when I'm watching goalkeepers, if I'm not looking at stats, it just instinctively I think, oh, Raya's better. But I just want you to explain why, in stats terms, he is better.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. So this is another one looking at the completion compared to expected. So I think this is one where Arsenal are looking to be able to get more progressive ability from their keeper. So this is, again, the hard passes. This is where David Raya shines versus Aaron Ramsdale. The long passes, the medium passes, advancing the ball up the field. He is one of the best in the game at being able to do those. He starts to become then just an average, player when you start getting into the 40, 50%, and then even going all the way up, where Ramsdale has been very good is, completing the easy passes, the passes that you expect to make. He doesn't have necessarily as many of those errors that you kind of, we've seen actually from David Raya this season where, he's trying to do an easier pass and it doesn't come off. So I think it's an interesting one where I think Arsenal are looking to get more value from him. We'll look again at the differences in the way that Arsenal are playing here, where you're getting more passes from David Raya, and I think you're looking to be able to get higher value, more progressive passes from him. And that's someone where he really shines as being able to get the ball up the field more consistently.
So that's what you're saying Ramsdale makes a lot more of the passes of 80% success value that you'd expect. But Mikel Arteta's looking for this. He's looking for a lot more progression in his passes. He's looking for when teams press him and they come and play really high, for a goalkeeper to be able to see the same type of pass that Ederson can make, the same type of pass that one of dropping it on the halfway line with success and helping his team to progress quickly.
Exactly. You think about some of those ones that break the lines to be able to get you through the press, to be able to do that. And that's where I think David Raya is something that, if you're going to look for a marginal improvement, that is what I think David Raya would provide over Aaron Ramsdale.
Okay, Scott, look, we had a sneak preview of the next graphic, and there's a lot of numbers.
Fault.
Was that you, Kat? There's a lot of numbers on there, Scott. I want you to break this down for us in really simple terms.
No, I think this is a really nice one to kind of highlight the differences between them. So we're looking at the shots faced. This is where, playing for Brentford, Raya was facing more shots. He did better with those ones that he was facing, being able to earn or save more goals than expected. Then you kind of looking into crosses into the box. He again faced more crosses into the box, but he claimed them at a much higher rate. Being able to play behind a high line, the sweeping actions is where Raya also excels. I think that's one of those things that Mikel Arteta talked about. He came to almost an agreement with Aaron Ramsdale about some of the positioning, and I think that David Raya is more comfortable being able to play further away from his own goal and be able to kind of sweep up behind a really high line and be able to come out and do some of those ones. And then this is the one that I think really, really illustrates the progressive distance. David Raya almost double the progressive distance per 90 with his passes, being able to get the ball up the field on significantly more passes. That I think the team almost tells the story of who they're comfortable with how many times they want to go back to David Raya with him and being able to take advantage of what he's able to do. So I think this is a kind of a nice story of kind of giving you the little bit of the marginal improvement that you might be able to get with a David Raya, and why Arsenal are making this call, even if it's one that, not everybody would have thought was the area that they needed the most improvement in.
Scott, do you think it's the right decision that he's made, Mikel Arteta, to go with Raya?
I think so. I think that this is something that we're at the level of a team where you need to kind of be able to push on for players that you really like. I don't think that, I look at the team and almost any player that we're trying to improve on is a good player. This isn't like when Arsenal were in 8th place and it's really easy to see a player that you necessarily think is good enough now, because we have challenged at the top of the title race that the players are good, and trying to make these improvements is, a tough call.
Well, the data all seems to tell the story that you're trying to say, Scott, and we can all understand, or we're starting to understand, the reasons why Mikel Arteta has made that decision. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you, and the data you've given us has been absolutely fantastic.
Sheffield United are really struggling. That's self-evident. For Arsenal, it's been a busy week in the Champions League. Eddie Nketiah, because Jesus is probably going to be out for 2 or 3 weeks, maybe to the next international window. What's your view?
Yeah, Eddie Nketiah, what a player. Someone who I like. I think all the stuff you want your centre forward to do, he does. He always gets into those areas where you're going to score. This touch, we just spoke about it before, this touch makes the goal. Absolutely kills the defender here. Good centre forwards, first one to come alive, bang. Confident, conviction, smash it into the roof of the net. But this goal here, 3 touches, the first touch, and the second one set him up, and then not much backlift, and then bang, straight into the top corner. What a performance. But it's quite interesting, because he actually messaged me on Instagram. And I thought it was a joke. I thought, well, Arsenal...
Before or after this game? Last week?
Pre-season.
Pre-season, yeah.
So he messaged me on Instagram, just obviously wanted to speak about like finishing and movement, all that sort of stuff. And I thought, you know what, I like that, because that's a young centre forward that wants to try and get as much from other players that have played the game in that position as he can. Someone wants to do it, wants to learn. But I mean, he's a good finisher. When he gets chances, I believe he'll score.
And would you just say to him, listen, you play for Arsenal, you're just going to have to be patient, because there is Jesus, who was unbelievable in Seville in the week.
Yeah.
And there's Martinelli, and obviously there's Saka. And they might go and buy another centre-forward, because they might need a different sort of centre-forward. They might need an Ivan Toney. That's why I'm looking at you, somebody different, hold it up. Yeah. Would you just say to him, listen, you're just going to have to be patient and accept that's what happens, or you won't play?
I think that's all you can do. I think I don't think it's a case of knocking on the manager's door. All you've got to do is do what he done. He scored a hat-trick. He should be playing the next couple of games, Dean.
Yeah, I don't know. He seems to be in the right positions all the time. He's now got his confidence, and he's finishing very well. He's choosing, really good finishes. And look at him there, a little bit of space. 1, 2. That second touch is brilliant.
Oh.
And he knows
that's a goal you don't actually associate.
Yeah, and he doesn't look at the goal once.
No.
He receives the ball and knows exactly where he is. I love this little touch there from Saka. There you go. That's yours. Well done. Deserve it. I think it's going to be tough for Sheffield United. Arsenal passed it around. Sheffield United couldn't get back into their shape.
No.
One player was coming out, another player wasn't going in, and then you got 3 at the back, and then you got 2 in midfield. They were all over the place. It's going to be tough.
Feels sort of a bit voyeuristic. They got 1 point from 10 games.
Yeah,
it's going to be difficult. It's almost, that game's almost like a free hit.
Yeah.
I think you have to go there and just compete. There's no point going there sitting back, because at some stage, it's like Arsenal going to score, and you're inviting pressure when you sit back. You might as well just go there and just be aggressive.
Give it a go,
just give it a go.
Yeah, goal and an assist for Mo Salah. Liverpool in 4th place then. Top 5, which could well be the Champions League places come the end of the season, occupied by the league leaders Tottenham, Arsenal, Manchester City, who we've talked about in terms of the Manchester derby, and Aston Villa in 5th. Of course, Newcastle are going to want to be challenging, but there's a gap now of 5 points with Newcastle.
Wow.
They had that little wobble earlier in the season. It was a tough run of fixtures that they had, but they look as though they are very much back in the groove. And if anyone falters, they will be there waiting to pounce. I'm going to start by talking about Liverpool, because we need to mention the context in which that game was played, which is that Luis Diaz's parents were kidnapped in Colombia. His mother is safe. They're still looking for his father. And, of course, Jurgen Klopp said before the game, it's almost impossible to try to tell the players that football matters in a situation like that. But they said they wanted to go out and they wanted to give the kind of performance that Luis Diaz would be able to see. And they did that with the 3-0 win. Jota with the first of them. And he ran straight over to the bench. It was a very muted, personal celebration. But he went straight over to the bench, where he picked up a shirt that had Luis Diaz's name on, just to let him know that his teammates were thinking of them. And obviously his mind is going to be elsewhere at the moment. And apparently very muted celebrations in the dressing room afterwards, because the players will be affected by that as well, by what their teammate is going through. But they get the 3 points, Wrighty, and they keep themselves inside the top 4. They keep themselves within touching distance of the league leaders, Tottenham, and you've got a little feeling for them at the moment, haven't you?
I do, simply because we know that Liverpool now how to navigate this a season, especially chasing City. But that's a Liverpool where everybody's expecting them to do something. Now they've got their midfield sorted. I think it's going to be one of the best midfielders if they carry on improving like they are. But I think that with the amount of noise around Tottenham and Arsenal, and obviously City doing their stuff, it's almost as if people are leaving Liverpool to, oh, Liverpool. And they should be quite happy with that because they've got everything in every department to continue to challenge under the radar. And then I believe that if they do get into a situation where they're in and around it, then Liverpool are definitely a massive problem for everyone.
Right, I'm with you. I'd say I think they have one weakness.
What is it?
Well, not a weakness. I think they're missing one player. That's a defensive midfield player. I think if Paulinho plays for Liverpool, they could win the league. He's that good. I think McAllister's not a defensive midfield player. He's a brilliant player. But I think to have McAllister and Szoboszlai, you know, as your 8 and your 10 to go with Mo and you know the rest of that front, I think. But I don't think you'll win the league with McAllister playing as a defensive midfield player. I like Gravenberch. I think he's amazing.
Yeah, Gravenberch. Yeah, Szoboszlai.
But I do think that's the only thing they need. Defensively, they're back to the best. They're actually playing on transitions, maybe a bit less possession. But I would say I think that position almost. You look at Rodri, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. It's a great point. It's a great point. That's why, again, it's so under the radar that you're not even like thinking, well, if they don't do it, no one's expecting them to do it at the minute, the way everyone else is going.
I just want to pick up on Gravenberch because I think because Szoboszlai started life so quickly and hit the ground running at Liverpool and had been spectacular, Gravenberch has kind of gone under the radar a little bit until maybe the game in the Europa League on Thursday night, yes, against Toulouse, but I think that it felt like a bit of a breakthrough performance, maybe.
But the thing is, I think teams dismiss the Europa League often at times, don't they, in the Conference League? But actually, it's a brilliant opportunity to get some of these younger players opportunities and reps. And that's where he's actually played amazing. And then because he's played well there, then he gets the opportunity to play in the Premier League. So he reminds me, you know, Liverpool fans probably won't like this, he's a bit Pogba-esque. He can do a lot of good stuff. He can play a lot of positions. He's got great size. He's got athleticism. But I think he's one of those players, I think he'll need to specialise in a position. But so far, I love watching him. I'm amazed he didn't play more for Bayern because I think I'm with Wright here. I think he's going to be a good addition to their midfield.
Good.
Yeah.
Very good.
So if Liverpool have got the midfield, if not completely sorted, then at least developing and moving in the right direction. Their front players, we know, have got plenty of firepower in them. And Mo Salah hasn't put in his best performances this season, but his numbers are incredible.
Incredible. Goal and assist in each of his last 13 games now. And he's flying. He's playing confidence as well. He's harrying goalkeepers into making mistakes, as we saw in the VT just now. And he makes the players around him better as well because he gives them that confidence to try things. There's a creativity about that front line. There's a fluidity about it. And he's a player who takes responsibility too. Owen was saying a second ago, you look at all the big teams have got at least one player who shoulders that goal-scoring burden. And he does that with aplomb for Liverpool.
There he is with his 20 goals in the last 28 Premier League matches. There's 12 assists in there. And like you said, Darren, he's creating chances as well. It's 100, he's got a goal what is that, game and a half?
Yes.
I think every 120 minutes.
I mean,
game and a third.
The thing about those numbers is, I think when you look at teams that win the league, they've got players who can take that goal-scoring burden, but they've also got goals from midfield as well. Liverpool have that. Gravenberch knows where the goal is, and I would imagine second half of the season playing more. Gakpo as well. And they ran riot against a relatively disorganised Forest side. I agree with the deficiency in midfield, but when you have a team that can shoot their way out of trouble in almost every game, that gives you a huge advantage because Gakpo was on the bench. He started the match on the bench. We all know about Luis Diaz as well. And yet they still had way too much firepower for Nottingham Forest and would do for most teams in the Premier League. And that's why Liverpool are serious contenders. We were talking about Manchester United. In the pre-match build-up, when Pep was asked about the rivalry between City and United, he said, no, Liverpool are the rivals to us. They are our they're the team we're worried about. And this Liverpool looks as though it's back to 2019, 2020 Liverpool when they won the Champions League and the Premier League because of that discipline, the firepower, but it's Liverpool rebooted. It's a Mark II because he brought the average age down. He's still got that firepower. People question the loss of Sadio Mane. No one's talking about Sadio Mane anymore now because they've got a younger, fitter, faster team, and that could be the Liverpool side for the next 5 years.
Every reason to believe this will be enthralling. My name is Derek Ray. With me in the commentary position is the former Arsenal and England defender Lee Dixon. and getting ready for what should be potentially thrilling action here. It's Burton Albion versus Arsenal.
Yeah, thanks Derek, as always. Pleasure to be here. I have to say, the atmosphere is fantastic in here, and I'm anticipating a really good game today. Hopefully, we won't be disappointed.
Must take the lead here. In it goes! That will do nicely for starters. First goal of the game.
Well, let's see that one again. It's all about the contact, does everything right. He's not bothered where the goal is. He knows where it is. He gets a beautiful strike on it.
Slightly different vantage point in terms of the goal that was scored. The opening goal of the game then. Partey has lost it. Now can they make something happen? Lacazette. Gabriel Martinelli. Now Lacazette. And threading it forward. And a chance, Ødegaard. Well, a crucial intervention inside the box. Hemmings. Powell. Crossing opportunity. Throw into Arsenal coming up. David Luiz. Bukayo Saka. David Luiz. Now Lacazette. And he might be through here. And still looking for space. Big chance it is. Well, he stumped it out of there without much fuss. Granit Xhaka. Well, they're sitting ever deeper. And I must say, that was a very promising attack. The alarm bells were sounding.